I am your host, Jake Thomas, and then, as you can see, I am solo tonight. So bear with me as we struggle through this together. But glad to be here tonight. And man, we're going to talk about the transfer portal tonight, and some crazy stuff been happening over in the portal. And as you can see here, I call it the transfer portal madness, and that's all you can say about it, guys. It's been crazy. But before we dive into it, the chat is live. It's open. Get in the chat. We'll talk about the portal. If you got something else you want to talk about, help me. Drive this show tonight. As we see, Justin has joined. Thank you, Justin, for joining. And I'm glad you're here because you can help me out a little bit over on the chat side. But man, just want to say thanks for having us on again tonight. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm solo. Stacey kind of got sick at the last second. Steven's off doing his thing, and yeah, and hopefully my internet stays hooked up because as everybody remembers last week's fiasco, it got pretty bad. So I think I got that worked out. So we're just going to move on, move forward, and Justin, really, what did he say about that? I missed that doing some prepping here, but you tell us in the chat what he said. But moving on to the portal, one of the guys that kind of stands out to me is Drew Sanders going to Arkansas, and honestly, to me, that's a big pickup for Arkansas. And I mean, he's going to a great organization, a great program, and he's got a chance to start right away. And he did really well in his time in Alabama, but when he went down with the injury and then the emergence of Dallas Turner, there was no way he was going to see that kind of action like he did when Chris Allen went down. Being pretty much in every play with the emergence of Dallas Turner. When Dallas Turner come in and he went off, everybody knew that he was going to be the starter next year, regardless of what happens, who comes in, barring injury. So Drew Sanders saw the writing on the wall, and he kind of, to me, he kind of got himself in a good situation where he can start, he can show his talent. Because I mean, he was a 5-star coming out of high school. He's very talented. So I'm excited for him. No hard feelings for towards him or anything or any of the guys that's leaving. You gotta do make the best of the situation that you're in. If you're third or fourth down on the depth chart where you're at and you have a chance to be a starter elsewhere, go take it. And that's what this transfer portal's for, is to get out there and showcase your skills. So I'm happy for him. Justin said, he basically said these athletes and Justin, my high school education is kicking in. I have no idea what that means. Who don't honor their commitments, and I am terribly sorry about that. I'm illiterate. I have no idea. Prima donnas. Okay. I got you. My bad. I just had to look at it for a second, but yeah. I mean, I mean, it is. I tend to agree with him on that a little bit on some situations, but like I said with Drew Sanders' case, if he wants to see the field, he wasn't going to see it next year much unless it was in the special teams unit or something at Alabama. I mean, the kid needs to be starting, and with Justin said I can't spell from Mississippi. Join the club, brother. But yeah. To me, Drew Sanders' case, he needed to go to a program where he can start, and now he's going to be teamed up with Bumper Pool. Bumper Pool has decided to come back for his senior year, and that linebacking core, group for Arkansas looks really, really good. So I know there's exciting things going on in Arkansas right now. I mean, they got KJ Jefferson coming back. They're losing Burks, but there's other playmakers on the offense that can step up and make plays. and I think, man, they're still up and coming, and they have a good chance to repeat that success they had last year and win a couple more games, I believe. Another guy from Alabama who left out, and you know, I don't want to harp on the guy, but it looked like he checked out in the championship game, and that was Jaleel Billingsley. I mean, his dad Charles has come out and said that thank you for the time there at Alabama, but coming into the year, Jaleel to me should have been the breakout player on the offense side of the ball. I mean, he is listed as a tight end, but the dude's got speed at a slot receiver, and we put him out in the slot several times, but he just never matured, never, I don't know, just never got to that next step that he needed to. Maybe he'll do better in Sarkisian's, um, playbook in his offense. He is going to Texas. Maybe he'll do better there, but I hate it because Jaleel, had the potential to be one of the greats in my mind at Alabama if he would have stayed and would have hit that next step. But unfortunately, he couldn't. He didn't. It kind of just seemed like he checked out in the championship game, and he left, quick and got out of town and went to Texas. Another big transfer that has happened within since the season has ended, and honestly, the season hadn't really ended yet, because we were still like a couple weeks away from the championship semifinals when Nick Calzada announced that he was going to Auburn. To me, that seems like a stretch for him going to Auburn. I think they're hoping he can have success there, and beat Alabama again. I just don't see it. I mean, he played a Steven Garcia esque and Johnny Manziel esque game against Alabama. Could not do anything wrong. We couldn't get to him, and all the pieces fell in that A&M game. And we saw what he did after the Alabama game. He kind of struggled. He struggled before the Alabama game. So, he had a once in a lifetime game. The Barnes hoping he can, he can have that success again. I just don't see it. But with with TJ Finley being on roster as pretty much their quarterback at the time, Nick Calzada comes in and he's going to be day one starter. I do believe TJ Finley, I thought might have been better than Bo Nix. I mean, after they played Houston in the Birmingham Bowl, he looked awful. I mean, he was overthrowing passes, underthrowing passes, just wasn't reading the defense real well. So Calzada has to come in and take that number one spot, because if he don't and TJ Finley gets the nod, it's going to be a long year down there, I think, on the Plains. But I do think Calzada can come in and make headway, and get that number one spot. Just not much of an improvement to me for Auburn at the quarterback position. Again, I have said many times, that that. Sorry, I had to move, so I couldn't see Justin's uh, comment there, but uh, Auburn needs to run their offense through Tank Bigsby. That's all they need to do. The dude is a tank. I mean, he's fitting the name. And when Bo Nix was there, they ran it through Bo Nix. They would put Bo Nix in situations he did not need to be in. You hand that ball off to Tank Bigsby 25, 30 times a game, and he goes off for 120 yards. You're going to be in a lot of contests. You can't get behind the eight ball and then put it in the hand of Bo Nix. And then coming into this season, you can't put the ball in the hands of TJ Finley or Nick Calzada. In my mind, you got to give that ball to Bo Nix. Justin, catching up here. Yeah, Billingsley kind of did check out in the A&M game as well, and pretty much the rest of the season. Calzada is an underwhelming transfer. I just said my piece on that. And yeah, Auburn does need some wide receiver help. I believe there's still a good bit of wide receivers in the portal that they can go after. One that, speaking of wide receivers, that's in there's another Alabama guy, Javon Baker, and it looks like he's heading to Ole Miss. All signs point to, and that would be a big pickup for Lane Kiffin in that offense if he's able to land Baker, and it looks like all signs are pointing that he will. Um, Baker, man, he's another one of these guys I thought that could, you know, be a integral part of our offense this year, wide receivers, especially being so young, on having Jameson Williams and Mechie, but he just, those guys in front of him that held that spot, and he never got to see the field, unfortunately. So he's another guy that's going to go try and get some playing time, and I don't blame him. He's a talented kid, and I hope he goes off, but I hope he don't get any catches and any passing yards against Alabama or any touchdowns, because I do not want to see him, light us up, because he's going to be up for that game, and Lane's going to use that to his advantage. So we just got to keep him in check if he's on the field during the Ole Miss game. But going back to Justin's comment, Auburn, yeah, wide receivers is what they need, and I don't know if they've got, they might have got a couple in the in recruitment this go around. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you saw in that Houston game, and even throughout the season, they were dropping wide open passes. There was even contested balls. They weren't bringing them in. So it wasn't good at all for Auburn at the wide receiver core. I think they got rid of their wide receiver coach early on in the season. And I think they made a new hire there. So coaching and getting a guy that can step up and make plays will be key for Auburn. In the wide receiver core this year, if they want to have any success. But again, to me, you've got to run Tank Bisbee. I mean, he is your offense, and apparently their coach has slipped my mind right now, Brian Harsin. Apparently, he sold him in that meeting with him to come back, because there was a lot of rumors him going to the transfer portal. So he told him something about his future at Auburn, and Tank said, "Okay, I'm going to give this a chance." So, you got to give him the ball this year. If you don't, it's going to be a long year for Auburn. Um, but I've talked a little bit about the transfer portal madness, and another thing to me, and we did title it a silly season. And it was kind of directed toward the transfer portal, but I want to talk about a little bit about that silly season. I mean, you saw a lot of crazy things that happened. One thing, and I'm trying to not to make this an Alabama heavy show, but especially being best of the West, but I know Alabama better than I do anybody else, and I usually let the other guys when I do these shows, drive the content for and get the conversation going for the other teams, and then I follow suit. But since I'm by myself, I'm trying to do my best, but to cover everybody on the West side, and I'll get there on some of the teams, but Alabama's case, real quick, talking about a silly season. This team coming in was the youngest team that Saban's, ever had. And there's a lot of people in the media saying that they could easily lose 3 games this year. But we made the national championship game, and we beat Georgia in the SEC championship game to get there. So talk about a crazy season. The defense struggled early on, then they honed it in, around the Mississippi State game and the LSU game, Arkansas game, Auburn game. but a lot of them games that were close, we needed defensive stops. We got defensive stops, and that's something we hadn't seen the last couple of years. I remember going back to the 2019 against Joe Burrow and the Tigers. We scored real quick. It was late in the fourth. We got it. We got a score. And I was like, okay, if we just get a stop, we get the ball back and we're going to score again. I just knew if we got the ball back, we was going to score again. Go ahead and win the game. What does LSU do? They run it right up the middle 3 times, or I think twice. They got it in second down. They ran it right up the middle, and we gave up 5 yards on the first down play, I believe, and again they got 5 or 6 on the second down, and the game was over. We could not stop anybody on the inside. This year, rush defense was amazing. I think it finished like second in the league. Those big boys up front, they handled the line of scrimmage for most part of the year. Henry To'oTo'o and Christian Harris both, started playing out of their minds in the second half of the season. They were out of position early in the season, but they honed it in and they got better as the time went on, as the games went on. And that middle of the defense was lights out. You couldn't find a hole to run through, and if there was a hole, it quickly got stuffed. So Alabama needs to continue that going into the new season, and we got our weak point is we got to do a little bit better in the secondary, and we got a lot of talent coming back next year for the secondary. Another thing that was crazy to me was how successful Arkansas was this year. They, excuse me, they, you know, I've kind of seen like a seven win team, but this team, they impressed a lot of people, and they, KJ Jefferson's coming back. They've, of course, now they got Drew Sanders on that defense. They've got Bumper Pool coming back. I think their offensive line is still pretty much intact. This team's going to be really, really good this year. I could easily see a 9-win team out of Arkansas easily. Justin said, I honestly think Hunter is a better running back than Tank. He could be. My brother-in-law, I've said this time and time again, my brother-in-law is an Auburn fan, and he's not really sold on Hunter. He's really a Tank guy, and I've been a Tank guy since he's been down there. I mean, the dude's just a beast. But Hunter's got to get the touches, I think. But to get more touches than Tank's going to be tough. Of course, I think Tank's a senior, so we'll see that in a couple of years. Not this season, but the next season. So we'll see how good Hunter is when he has the ball. And he's the number one guy in a few years. Ole Miss, I don't think that was really much of a silly season, and I think they were expected to win 9 games and they got 10. And if Matt Corral, when they got injured against Baylor, they would have had 11. But they have a lot of talent coming back. The quarterback that stepped in for him, his name just escaped my mind there. But he looked really good. He looked really sharp. They went into halftime in that Baylor game, got the game plan adjusted to him, and he made plays in the third quarter. And so you kind of saw flashes of what he can do next year. The only thing is about Ole Miss, and I know my other boss here, Steven, is the Ole Miss guy, but can they have another 10-win season? They're going to have to shore up that defense a little bit. The defense needs to get better at the rush defense. Hey, baby, my wife has joined. Thank you for coming on. I'm just doing Luke Altmaier. Thank you, Justin. Altmaier, yes, he looked really good to me. But that defense got to get better defending the run. And but honestly, the whole SEC West is going to make, besides maybe Auburn and LSU, I think Mississippi State's going to be an improved team. A&M, they're still going to be there. Haynes King is kind of a question mark quarterback. He looked really good early, then got hurt in the Colorado game last year. So how's the injury going to affect him moving forward? But that defense is really going to be good. Um, Ole Miss is going to be there again. Arkansas as well, and of course Alabama's still at the top. And until one of those teams beats Alabama, Alabama's going to be at the top. But the crazy season. Another thing, and I know Texas and Oklahoma have not moved into the SEC yet, but they will be in the future. The crazy thing to me is that Will Venables took that job, and that's not a knock on Will Venables. I just thought he would never leave Clemson, and honestly, I think Oklahoma's got them a good coach, and if he can build up some success when they move to the SEC in a couple of years, he's going to have a good defense because we know the Big 12 teams don't really play a lot of good defense. So you move to the SEC, you're going to have to get a defense. That's for sure. Same way with Texas. Um, but yeah, so anybody else want to chime in? I've gone about 21 minutes. We usually go about 30 on these, but being by myself, it's kind of hard to generate enough in my slow mind here to think of something to talk about. But um, overall, um, the transfer portal is still pretty deep. I remember seeing somebody ask a question last night on Twitter if Alabama would attack the portal here pretty soon or would wait till after February when the next signing day's up. And I think I may be wrong with this, but I think they may wait until signing day to see who we might get in signing day. I think there's like one or two prospects that recruits that we're looking at that could sign with us. Um, but I think you got to wait and see who you get on that signing day, and then you fill the rest of your roster out through the portal that way. But other than that, guys, I appreciate y'all jumping in, and again, this is not Tide Talk. This is Best of the West on the Y'all's Conference Network. And yeah, I'm enjoying my time here. Um, and I hate that Stacey got sick tonight. He was really excited to jump on here. It's nothing major. I know a lot of people is dealing with COVID right now. Myself, I have some family members that have it, and honestly, I've been around some family members, so I've been exposed to it. But I'm taking the necessary precautions to make sure I'm okay, and so is my wife. So we're good at the moment on that. Larry, thank you for joining. Ole Miss has got some studs on defense from the portal. You're absolutely right, and I don't think you guys are done in the portal yet. Like I said, you could land Javon Baker here in the next couple of days, and that'd be another big pickup. Looks like Lane's doing all the necessary things to beef up his defense, and that's the only one mark that that was on Lane. Was usually he's a great offensive minded coach. His defense is just like a little bit of flair. So I think he's getting the necessary guys. Jalen Armour Davis was on our show tonight. Awesome guy. You know, JD, he just seems like a cool dude, Justin, and that's awesome. I'm glad you guys got him on. He just seems like a standout guy, and I hope he thrives at the next level. Um, and the one year that he actually got to start, I was very impressed. And Stacey and I have both said on numerous occasions on the shows that he was pretty much our most consistent defensive back um, this entire year. So, and then of course Jordan Battle become a little bit better. Got more consistent as the later in the year went on, and Brian Branch come out as well. And then when DeMarco got healthy, he was a lot better. So. But JD just played consistent throughout the entire year before he got injured. I'm hoping he goes to Baltimore. And yeah, that would be ooh, that'd be scary. They've got a good team over there with Lamar Jackson. Larry says waiting to hear from Jackson Dart and Michael Trigg too. Uh, I believe Dart will probably pretty much come there. I'm not really sure about Trigg, but I do expect Dart to head that away. And if he does, that's going to be a good QB battle in the spring and fall camp to look forward to. Dart looks like he's a really really good player, but Luke Artmeyer, he impressed me in that Baylor game enough to I think that he needs to get a look at being the starter as well. Um, Justin said he shut down his side of the field. No one beat him or outworked him for the ball. You're right, and Justin, I know you've seen it as well as much as I have watching the Bama games, but you know we get beat a lot because we have our backs turned, and I've heard that that's coaching that they coach the corners to turn your backs, but when we turn our backs, you can't find the ball until it's the last second, and it just blows up. But I remember Jalen, he always had it down pat because he never turned his back. It seemed like because I mean he was making a play on the ball every single time it was thrown his way. They could leave him on an island, and he never had his back turned. I mean, he had a couple interceptions that I mean he was looking right at the quarterback when the quarterback threw it and knew where to go. So I don't know if it was just I don't know what it is about that, but I wish they would get better at in the secondary about looking for the ball and not having your back turned towards the towards the quarterback because Kyrie Davis instance, he turned at the last second, looked for the ball, and it was too late. It was already dropping in the Georgia guy's hands on that touchdown pass. So there, I guess there's advantages and disadvantages, of that. But anyway, if anybody else got anything to say, the 8 people that has joined and has been on here most of the time, like Justin, Larry. I think my wife has been on for most of the time. I'm sorry that you had me tonight because I am not the best to go solo, but I will. I will get better, and if I have to do solo again, I'll get a little bit more organized. But you know, we didn't really. Me and Stacey talked about. It was about 30 minutes from the show, and it just it went from there. He said he didn't feel good, so I was kind of scrambling trying to find some topics to talk about. But anyway, Larry, thank you for the thank you for the kind words. Thank you for joining us. We should be back fully healthy next week. We'll have Steven back behind the sidelines, driving that chat as well, helping drive some talking points. Justin says, good point. That's one of the points George T made last week on our show. Yeah, George, I think people need to listen to George T when he talks. I mean, that guy's been through the ringer, and he's an outstanding guy. I enjoyed our chat. We had him when we got him on our show. He's just a one of a type guy, and I always love seeing that play when he just lays out To right there at the start when T.O.'s trying to celebrate on it. And then, of course, the 92 championship game where he just took the ball out of the guy's hands and started running around the other way. I mean, George T is an amazing guy, an amazing athlete back in his day. So, but anyway, I've gone about 30 minutes. I'm actually shocked. I can't believe that I got on here thinking I was going to go about 15. But, you guys have helped and drive this 30 minutes of just me just spewing, just spewing words out because I had a good time. Thank you guys for jumping on. T.O. still won't talk to T. I don't blame T.O., but I don't blame T for not talking to T.O. either. But anyway, guys, again, thank you for joining. I'm Jake, of course, and I'm for the best of the West. Like I said, follow everybody on the Y'all's Conference Network. We've got a lot of great things going on over there right now. We're over there now. Tide Talk Podcast is, and those guys. Steven's done an amazing job, and let's continue to grow this, and all these shows, all these echoes we do, just continue to grow, continue to push each other's content, and this network is going to take off, and it's for you guys. We're doing it for you guys. We love talking about sports, and you guys drive the content and drive what we talk about. So thank you again for joining. For Jake, who's me, and for Stacey, who's at home, he'll be back next week. Like I said, Stephen will be back. Thank y'all for joining tonight. And for the best of the West, thank you. Appreciate it. I'm out. Roll Tide.